Jim and Alan. Right, we'll make a start, and I feel I ought to start with an apology really, because this is obviously a rather depleted committee. We have checked, we are quorate, and Councillor Pat Colling has sent apologies for lateness, so she should be along shortly, I think. Now, normally we would start, so now, first I want to say, well, that this is amazing, an incredible turnout of people. Expressing interest in what's going on locally. So thank you for coming and welcome everybody. What I'm going to do is ask to suspend standing orders, because normally what would happen is that you would get your chance to speak now. So it's 3 minutes each and a total of 15 minutes. But it seems to me to make a lot more sense if you actually talk about the planning application just before we discuss it. So what I'm going to do is to ask the other two members of the committee if they're happy if we suspend standing orders to have the input contributions from members of the public when we actually get to looking at the new planning act and the new planning applications.
Yeah.
Happy with that?
Fine.
Okay. And when we get there, given that the one you're all interested in is the very last one, number 22, we're not going to make you sit through the other 21. I shall move that up the order to the beginning. Is that okay?
And is it okay if we just go when we've said what we want to say and you've heard
Oh, absolutely. You don't need to
I don't want to be rude or anything.
Yes.
You must stay. You have to stay.
I'm starting watching The Night Sleeper on BBC One and I've got to get back to my
All that was saying today.
I know.
I had a terrible review of it today.
He did. Actually. Yeah.
Let's get going. So there are a number of procedural items to get through first, but I will try and rattle through those as quickly as we can, whilst giving them due attention, of course. After the welcome, this meeting has already been recorded. Obviously, there's the camera behind you. Does anybody wish to make an additional recording? No. Okay, that's fine. Item 101, apologies for absence. These have been circulated, so
yes, we've had apologies circulated from councillors Lyles, Brooke, Barnett, Wilson, Fenwick and Firth.
Yep. So are we happy to accept the reasons for their apologies?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Right. Item 102, members and officers' personal and disclosable pecuniary interests. So is there any council got anything to declare?
Application 24250611 for the tech.
What number is that on my list, please?
11.
Alright, thank you.
And I've got nothing to declare this time. Right. Officers' interests.
Nothing for me.
Nothing for you to declare. Right. Okay. Item 103. Any new written requests for DPI dispensations?
Nothing this time.
Okay. Right. Item 104. Does any part of the agenda? Do we believe any part of the agenda should be discussed in private? No. Item 105, can we confirm the minutes of the previous meetings? Can we approve the minutes of the previous meetings?
Yeah.
Proposed and seconded. Thank you. Okay, all in favour? Yeah.
I have a report on matters arising from the last session. Kirkby's licensing policy asked me to submit on the consultation to comment favourably on safer nighttime economy. regarding changes to their local plan on education, which came in after the papers were sent, but has a deadline date of the 8th of October, which is before our next meeting. So it's not been included in here. How would you like to go forward with that?
Any views? Either of you?
If it, well, could we, the working party on local plan review, could we look at it in that?
If that's what you would like to do.
We could do.
And then
Yes.
just send that off as the
Yes.
council's reply.
Okay.
I think if we're asked to comment on something, if we can, I think
We should.
we should. We should.
We do board of the authority, don't we? So,
We do, Bob.
and
Yes.
it might be in it a little tiny bit,
Mm.
but I think it's just worth just looking at how if it does affect us at our end of anything. It probably won't do, because the bit that does bother us is kind of out in the sticks, isn't it? But it's just worth looking over. It might just be that we decide to note it or not give any further comment.
Okay.
Are we happy to do that?
Yeah.
Happy?
Mhm.
So we'll refer it to the working group on the local plan. Right. Item 106, completed Kirklees planning applications. Can we note the
Mhm.
list of
Yeah.
applications updated with our views last time? So noted. Thank you. So we now come to item 107, which are the new planning applications. I just want to say, I think that probably Gemma, our assistant clerk, has probably already explained to you that the decision-making body is obviously Kirklees Council. And although the parish council can and does make representations to Kirklees Council, our representations carry no more weight than that of an ordinary member of the public. I just want you to be aware of that. So if you haven't done already and feel strongly about the planning application, then the best course of action is to contact Kirkley, is to make your comments known directly to Kirkley.
we're on with that.
And you're on with that, that's fine. I didn't want you to be under any illusion. Right, I've got a list of 1, 2, 3, I've got a list of 4 people waiting to speak. I don't know whether you, which order you want to go in, or I can just
Maybe
shout,
as it's written.
I can just shout out the names I've got, if that's all right. So I've got Sally first.
Okay, that's me.
Right.
That's me. So, I'm Sally, owner of 186, which is an underdwelling underneath the row of cottages there. We actually own the steps adjacent to the slope in question, and where the planning permission has been asked to build a parking space, and then the land behind all the houses. And in our deeds, our son used to own the slope many moons ago, and we actually had the land for the steps and the land behind transferred to us in our deeds. The slope had the same covenant as the rest of that land, that there should at all times be access to the tenants, the tenants' servants and visitors, etc., to all those houses behind, down that slope, and either on foot or with vehicular access, be it horse and cart or a vehicle. And that was in the conveyance of the land originally dated the 8th of September 1955, and in perpetuity, whenever the vendors and their successors in title, the tenants, servants and visitors, should have a right of way with or without horses, carts, carriages, etc. over all that property. So that is my worry with it, that people won't be able to actually access with what is planned. With, you can't actually get a vehicle now round the back, but you could if you needed to get an ambulance, fire engine, something of that nature, you could get it. And also, the access off the road is crazy, really. You know, coming in and out of it, that's fair. But everyone who lives there, of which there are a substantial amount of people who live behind both sides, need to have access for furniture, etc. And the steps won't be enough. It's meant to be the whole thing, whoever owns it.
Thank you so much. Right, the next name I've got is Phil.
That'd be me then.
Thank you.
One of the main points I want to point out is if you read the plans, she's been at best disingenuous about what she said. She's stated that was used as a car park since 2020, was it? Until 2020.
Yeah.
And
No.
lots of people around this table now have been here a lot longer than me and confirm it's never been used as a car parking space. The car parking space will not be the size of a regular car parking space. I think at best it'll be 4.3 metres, with the average car being 4.4 metres. So that will be coming onto the pavement. Access in and out will need double yellow lines to make it safe. Whether you're reversing in, driving in, you're going to need to see onto that road. So the parking is already horrendous. So to take away even more parking for one space, and this space is a business space, it's not for her personal use. This is for an Airbnb. And when you read the plans, it makes it look like a stinker lives at that address and was stopping it for her personal car, which is not the case.
Thank you, Phil. Thanks both the first contributors, keeping them really tight and excellent. Thank you. So the next name I've got is Pam. That's me. Thank you.
I'm a very new person. I only purchased my house in July, so obviously there's the history of it. I'm not sure. However, there are a lot of concerns because it is public right of way, obviously, but the slope, we all use it. There are a number of bins. Everybody has bins around the back. We have to get them up and down to the main road. If we all have to put our bins on the main road, we will probably be obstructing the public right of way. And we also have the fact, unfortunately, I've just been retired from ill health reasons as a nurse. I've got a failed hip replacement. That is going to only get worse. I can't pull a bin up steps. And also the likelihood is, as my hip deteriorates, I may have to look at applying for a blue badge, and I live at 198, so I'm directly adjacent, I'm next to the steps. So unfortunately from a very personal perspective, that's mine, but then there are also the concerns for all the residents, because this impacts on so many people. The parking is horrendous, and to lose 2 spaces potentially for one person when it's not a resident just does not seem very fair. And then there's also, and I do believe, I understand there might even be gas pipes or utilities running down underneath that slope. And also it's not adjacent to my property, but the property will be adjacent to, they're talking about backfilling with soil, which will be directly against someone's wall, so who's going to tank out the property to stop damp ingressing? It is very sketchy in the plans, it doesn't say very much, and there's also an underdwelling, and it's going to impact. I know the person who has underdwelling. I've been in the back. There's one small tiny window in the window into the kitchen at the back, and that will rob it of an enormous amount of light with a 10-foot wall that's going to be behind it. So obviously those are my concerns.
Thank you. Thanks. And then I've got Stacey.
Well, I think everybody's spoken what I would have said. I was wondering whether it might help inspire one of you to become an ally to us, if you perhaps understood more about actually what the situation is. Have you had a chance to look at the application prior to the meeting?
Yes.
So you know you understand what we're talking about.
Yes.
Right. So I would then add that the only thing I would add is that I think it's likely it will take at least 3 parking spaces away from local residents. Not 2, at least 3. And if you lived on Dunford Road, or if you've never been on Dunford Road, you would know that this is not something we're going to take lying down.
We do look at the planning application.
Well, I wasn't sure. No, but I was
whether you know.
It's whether, you
What's
could
it
have
for?
you might have been thinking, what the hell are they talking
I
about?
think we all also know Dunford Road and walk up and down
Yeah.
it quite frequently, so
Yes,
yes.
yes, good,
Yeah.
good.
Right,
Good.
thank you, thanks very much.
Thank
Right,
you.
and then Jane, thank you.
Yeah, most of the points have been covered. I lived there 40 years. When I moved there were 5 cars parked on that whole stretch of road. Now if you come back after 5 o'clock, you have to park up, and there's permits for other people further up. You have to park beyond that. And most of us aren't getting any younger, you know, so it's fine coming down the hill. We have to double park. We have to double park to unload anything heavy and then go and park. This is just going to make it worse. But I want to speak up on behalf of Harry, I think he's called. I've only met him once. He bought the underdwelling, which is on the other side from Pam. It's a very, very dark, poky little house. It shouldn't be, in my opinion, it shouldn't be a house. So he comes out his front doors, up some steps, and he'll come up to the back of this retainer wall, which goes against his house, which is already suffering problems with damp. And we know that tanking doesn't work very well on those bottom underdwellings. And because I live on the terrace below, so I'll come up the steps and I have to walk around this massive wall, and it'll be breeze blocks. And it's actually a very nice little place, isn't it?
Yes, it is,
Yeah.
And so it's yet more crowding and, you know, more restriction and less nature, and it shouldn't be breeze blocks. It shouldn't be there at all, I don't think, because it says on the application there's no external wall necessary. Well, there is an external wall, which we see, and the people on the back see. We can't see it from the road, but that's not the only people who matter. So that's important. Yeah, so don't forget that we use it as well. We all have front doors, but a lot of the people on sides don't. They haven't got, it's not like they've got a back door at the back and a front door at the front. Their whole house. So all their furniture has to be moved in and out. We've had 2 people in wheelchairs who aren't there now, but
Actually thinking about, sorry to interrupt Jane, H and Marie, who
Yeah.
are,
Yes.
they are aging,
Yeah.
H in particular.
we're all of us are aging.
Yeah.
There
Yes.
is a gentleman who's actually housebound now, he's bedbound, and he is in one of the underdwellings. And obviously, from a kind of emergency situation, if the steps are there, if you're in a seated stretcher, that would be okay. But if you needed someone on a full-blown stretcher, it would be really, really difficult to get somebody up those steps. So, and he is in a really poor state of health. So.
Somebody called Margaret, who doesn't live there anymore, she had to be stretchered out a few years ago. So you wouldn't get it up, the steps are only, you wouldn't have room to get it up. If you've got a wall up here, the wall of your house, Mum's house, up there, and just steps. What are they, 3 foot?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, John actually measured it.
So that's,
Thank you all, thanks everybody. Is there anybody who hasn't spoken yet wishing to speak? Made a lot of points.
have we missed anything
Very
else?
short order really.
And only the fact that it's also opposite a very busy Indian takeaway, which again, you've got parking, and I think for the dangers of them pulling out onto the road, I think it is really, it's quite dangerous.
Yeah.
It's dangerous enough as it is, but when people are parking outside the takeaway and they're then if someone is moving in, they're coming from an Airbnb, they're visiting, particularly if they don't understand how busy the road is, if they pull in forwards and then have to reverse out, it's going to be so dangerous.
Yeah, because people often sneakily park just outside the takeaway to pick up their stuff.
Can I just say something? I'm not on your list, but
Yes,
I'm
fine.
going to say something.
Yes.
I just wanted to mention that there is an existing dropped curb there, which is why it hasn't gone to highways. Usually they would come and do a survey. There is an existing dropped curb, but that's for this historic right of way.
It is.
It's not
Yeah.
anything to do with parking. If they were to apply for a dropped curb now for parking, they wouldn't get it because that's a very busy narrow B road there. And it would be very unlikely that highways would allow that because of visibility and all the rest of it. So the fact that there's an existing drop curb, it's kind of misleading because that's not what it's there for. It wasn't what it was there for.
I've been there 40 years, and the only people who park down there will be people coming to repair things at the back. So they will pull in to unload and then go again. It's never been a parking place.
I think we've made that clear now.
I think so. Thank you. Thanks, Al. Right, so, as I said, this is number 22 on our list, but we're bringing it forward. I'm also going to ask the councillors if we can, if necessary, may not be necessary, if we can suspend the standing orders to ask you questions if we need any more information. So, anybody, any comments? Councillors?
I don't think there's much we can add.
I don't think there's much we can, no. Yes, Tom.
Yeah, my old house, I used to live in a back-to-back in New Mill, and below my house there was a little ginnel to get through for access for the people around the back.
Yeah.
And further up and round as well, there was like a parking space and a shared access place where other people get around the back as well. There's a reason why terraces are designed like yours with that gap there for access.
Yes.
There's a reason why, and taking that away would make it really difficult and awkward for you guys. It would make it nearly impossible for some people to live down there.
It's a historic access because actually 202 and 186 were a pub amongst another one that used to be a pub. So they needed access round the back to actually drop the barrels in
So,
to 186.
I think you need to be really clear with all the covenants and all the rights that you've got. All the houses around the back should have access rights for that bit to use that space. So they shouldn't be allowed to do this. One thing that wasn't really mentioned too much was emergency services as well.
Yes.
So like stuff like if a fire engine needs to get down there, an ambulance or anything like that, that's really, really important.
Very
And without that, if a car's parked there, you can't do it.
Yeah.
You mentioned someone to get stretched out, you can't do it.
Yeah.
And if you to use the steps, it'd be really difficult. So
With the utilities as well, they wouldn't be able to get around
No.
to access things if they needed to bring equipment. There's just not a chance.
So, yeah, I want to propose that we refuse it. I think you mentioned over intensification because you're building right up to next to the proximity to the neighbours' houses. There's tons of highway issues which have all been mentioned. And yeah, I propose that we refuse the application.
Can we just take a vote on that? Can we say that we object, we can't refuse it? I'm afraid. We can only object, sorry. Yes, I've got both Gemma and I have been writing furiously. I've got 11 points. Gemma's probably got more. So,
And there is a gas main because
the
Robert,
gas
who
main,
isn't
yes,
here,
it's
he's
really-
been here a bit
yes,
longer
yes.
than me and he remembers putting it in.
Right. So I think between us, I think probably what we'll do is that we'll compare our lists and make
Will
sure
you be able
that
to
we
look at
mention
our comments
these.
online as well? If you mention that it's business use, I think the thing that really rules is that it's for business use as well. That really rules.
It's also the fact because it's business, it's not the same person learning
Yeah.
the how to get in and get out of that
Absolutely, yeah,
house.
absolutely.
A new person every
Every time,
week,
yeah.
every weekend.
So thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you, John.
We shall object with a great honesty. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Easier going down this tunnel.
I'm cool walking the storeroom,
Well, you only think on Google Maps, but like, unless you've driven up and down Dunford Road a few hundred times,
Do you
like,
wish-
all that, you don't really know what it's like, do you? How busy it is.
Yeah, I mean, walk now. Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey.
Thank you. I realise I put the wrong side of the table for plug access.
It's all right,
We
no
need to
problem.
switch.
If I run out of battery, I'll just manage. No, I shouldn't, it's fully charged.
Good. It seems a shame we can't actually Actually,
which
really
one was
do
that?
anything. I'm sorry,
The
it's
last
number
one on the
20, number 22, the last one
22.
on the list, so Blue Roger Forward. So we go back to number 1, and which was Huntsman Inn.
It was the Huntsman.
Road, the Huntsman Inn, yeah, Greenbelt. Any views on that? I'm so depleted, it just,
They anticipated a lot of drinkers sitting outdoors, don't they?
I think it's the climate's going to change. It's very exposed.
It's the sunshine, the tropical sunshine that's forecast. It's the smokers as well, isn't it?
I did look at this one, I guess other people did as well, and I just thought we ought to support this. They have sort of pre-application advice and they've taken it, so are we happy to support?
There's
what
one
it's in
extra
between
space for
Yeah.
disabled
Disabled.
parking as well, so
And they need,
they've got to
if
draw.
we
people
need
that
it
way.
to succeed, we don't want to have the
Yeah.
put turning in.
I'm surprised that it went to Waltham Town Council as well, I don't know whether that was, anyway, they supported it too, so we're happy to support?
Yeah.
Good.
And they're right on the border, I think technically they might be into Melbourne. I think they might not.
Ah, right.
Because
I'm not
the
sure.
road is at the border and then
Right. Well, we can give them our support.
It's
as
fine.
well.
It's been sent to us.
Half a pub might be an hour one, half it might be
It's
another. It is that
It
close.
could be.
It might be that the head was in
Yes.
one side.
Mm.
Right. So 16, number 2, 16 Town Gate, Conservation Area. I don't know what's going on with conservation areas, but
Yes.
practically every single one was in the second page was in the conservation area. So Town Gate, Upperthorn, any views, anybody?
The position of one of those trees that are earmarked on the location plan, it's a bit difficult to decipher exactly where that is in relation
Yeah.
to the northeast corner of the proposed garage, which is
Yeah.
slightly oversized.
I haven't looked at this one, but I do know Towngate really well. Is it one of the cellars?
No, it's an old renovated property that's gable on.
Right.
Yeah.
There's one house at an angle next door to it, set quite a way back, and it's sort of got a slight angle to the road, with quite a large garden on the east side, and it's that one there.
Obviously, the Kirklees trees are they're very exercised about it, aren't they? They put a holding objection on it, so I suppose and it also seemed very close to the boundary wall as well. My idea was to defer to Kirklees Council.
Yes,
Okay with that?
Yeah.
With that, yes. Can I just clear this up, Gemma? Do we actually have to vote on every one?
I mean, you don't have to. If you,
Could we vote on them on block at the end? It just seems.
Well, no, because we're on different
ridiculous.
things.
It can be ones that if we do disagree on, but like if it's ones where we all agree, it's just, yeah.
Yeah.
If people want to have a vote, just say.
It's pointless, isn't it? Just.
But we can't vote at the end, because we'll be yes to one, no to another, not sure to
No,
another.
we would just say that we agree to the
Oh, I'm with you.
We can do that, because then you disagree on.
collective decisions. In that case, we usually defer to Kirklees
Yes.
Council officers, don't we? If we can't mind it. Okay, the next one was the discharge of conditions, yeah.
We usually defer
We usually
to
just-
officers on those
yeah.
as well.
Defer to Kirklees. Yeah. And then Mill Lane. Certificate of lawfulness.
Yeah, I've had a look at this
Yeah.
one. It's some stables which they're wanting to use for commercial use rather than domestic. It's right out in the sticks, so I don't think it causes problems to anybody.
It's one of these when it's kind of making you think what's already been happening for years, isn't it? So that's just.
Yeah, I didn't look into details about how long the stables have been there for, but I don't really have any problem with it.
Do you want to support it?
Yep.
I feel Let's
support
wonder if
it, it
yours-
looks fine to me.
Yeah. I thought it looked okay. Yeah. Anybody else want so support? It was a certificate of lawfulness anyway.
Yeah.
That's number 5. Number 6, Springfield Avenue, another certificate of lawfulness.
The thing I couldn't tell, it might be me becoming a doddery old thing, or the charts not being as clear as they used to be. There is an additional bedroom in this that they're proposing. I couldn't see whether there was additional parking. I couldn't see on these plans, I couldn't work out whether there was, I've asked the question, I mean, I'm fine with what they want to do, but if they are creating an additional bedroom, they're supposed to also create an additional parking space, aren't they?
Usually, yes. Yeah. Do you want to
And
defer
I
to
couldn't,
Jess?
well, I couldn't tell from, can anybody else tell? I mean, you're better at plans than
Steve's
I am.
looking now.
I'm just looking now.
Mm,
I mean, they've got a garage down the
I didn't think-
side and back.
I thought that space for
But-
parking.
I think it's one of these drives that doesn't cater with modern cars. It's good for an old
Built for
mini.
Morris Miners.
Yeah.
Should we defer to Kirky? Should we defer to the office?
Just,
Certificate
I
of
mean,
lawfulness
I
anyway.
support
Yeah.
assuming
Okay.
there is additional parking for
Alright,
me,
so
you know, as-
fine. Should we go for support then, providing
Yeah.
there's sufficient parking? I feel it's a shame that we don't seem to get any comments from any other members of the planning committee.
I was going to ask actually if anybody who put in apologies has passed on any comments about the applications.
Councillor Barnett has said that there's another thumb one and he is supportive of it.
Okay, but the other councils haven't done.
Otherwise, no.
I mean, there was a time when you send the list out to all councillors that people did respond, but
I
I
do
did
get
just
some responses, but usually I only bring them if
Only
it's
bring them
not
if it's-
supported.
yeah.
Well, quite often they might not get comments because people don't, they looked at them and they're okay. But like,
Yeah.
the planning committee members should give on comments for their own ward if they can attend. And I do get it that like if you can't attend at the last minute, you might not be able to fire off an email with everything on there. But if you put in apologies in a few days ago, well, you probably should do. Okay, I'll leave it at that.
Well, I agree, because it just seemed a bit ridiculous that there's 4 of us here pontificating on them.
Oh, we,
Yeah.
Yes, we are. We have checked, right. Okay, the swimming pool. Number 7, the swimming pool.
Yeah, this one, I like the way that it's a pool house, but how do they term it? It's a proposed erection of, oh no, I'm getting my one.
Erection of detached outbuilding.
Yeah, rather than a pool hall, I mean a pool house, not a pool hall.
No.
That was something different.
slightly different, both leisure activities.
Yeah,
but, you know, and I kind of thought, oh, it's going to be an oversized Wendy house or something, but it's not.
It's a swimming pool.
It's a swimming pool.
It's,
And I'm a bit conflicted because one of the objectives talks about it not being a house in private residence, but an Airbnb.
Oh.
And it used to be an Airbnb.
and it changed in 23, that's what it.
But, well, they got the permission to
Permission to
change,
change, but
but whether it's, because one of the objectives still refers to it being a party house, which implies it's an Airbnb. Because there's a big Airbnb just down the road. from
And is it actually a party house, or have they cut and pasted the application and forgotten to change old data?
No, this is an objector.
Ah, right.
But we,
It's a house that's been built in the grounds of another house, and it's tucked round the back. So it's sort of affecting about 5 houses.
I thought it was huge, I mean,
And
its footprint.
there's not a lot of garden
And
there.
it won't get quieter if they put a swimming pool in.
And
No.
they've already got an extension, a permission for an
Mm.
extension which isn't yet built.
Yeah.
Sort of then below that proposed extension, they want to put their pool house. There's not a lot of green land left on this site by the time
On
they're finished.
what grounds could we,
Overdevelopment.
overdevelopment?
One of the big ones here is, I'm just looking now at Appendix A, the climate change statement.
Is all.
I'm just looking at it now. Use of local suppliers and labour.
Yeah.
Sourcing materials locally.
Yeah.
Small scale domestic outbuilding, no on-site renewable energy generation is proposed. Well, it's not about the actual building, it's about what's inside it. It's swimming pool, like private swimming pools are really bad for the environment.
Yes, they can't be all that low on energy, can they?
It's not going to be an unheated one.
No,
Yes.
Well, I was talking to my friend.
Though
the
it
other
is
day.
a thing at the moment, cold water swimming.
Like my friend at the moment who's got a hot tub, one recently, and it keeps heated all the time. I said to him, "But you just turn it off and then put it on again." And he goes, "How much is your energy bills?" And he goes, "Oh, it's an extra 20 odd quid a month." So like, if that's just for a hot tub,
Yes.
I'm thinking for a swimming pool. So
Right.
yeah, I think that should definitely be mentioned.
Can we,
I would recommend that we
Well,
oppose
we've got to be a bit careful here, because we can't say, well, we're never going to approve a
can we
swimming
oppose-
pool,
No.
can
well,
we?
can we oppose it on the grounds, first of all, of overdevelopment?
Yeah.
We couldn't make a comment that
Yeah.
the climate
Overdensity.
change statement was very weak, and we can't go into how we build that.
If it was to have like some solar panels on it and something like that, do you use a heat pump with a swimming pool? I don't know. But like,
You
there
can
is,
certainly put solar panels, because you've got a biggish
Yeah.
space.
yeah, there's ways they could do it better, definitely, than what they have done.
Is it also, I mean, it is huge, isn't it? So is it also
you know,
a disproportionate?
it's just a flat roof.
Just a flat. It's not an annex, is it?
Well,
Because-
I think they say that's going to be locally sourced, so it'll be a flat roof stone building with one wall that's essentially glazed.
It's interesting actually, it's on the plans it says proposed pool room, doesn't it?
Yes.
But like on the actual application it says,
It just has a
detached
detached
out.
Going to be an extra room that's got a strange deep hole in it. We're planning to have exhibitions.
Okay, so we're objecting to this
Yeah.
one?
so with the pool room and the extension as well, that would double the footprint of the site,
Yeah.
wouldn't it really?
Yes, I mean, that
It's
house
not-
now is virtually the length of,
Yeah.
the length of the
And
plot.
it's an outdoor one, isn't it? rather
You know.
than so we're objecting, could we perhaps the climate change statements for a week?
Yeah, there's another one this week like that later on.
Okay, so we move on to South Lane, Harfirth. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this is
This one as well, isn't
the
it?
roof terrace. I was in two minds on this one. I know one of the objectors is concerned about the loss of roof and sort of
Yes.
the damage to the roof space, but actually the loss of roof is about
It's
the
tiny,
size
isn't
of this
it?
table.
And it's at the back,
It's
isn't it?
right at the back, and they're just
Mm.
taking the old storeroom
Yeah.
out and to create a bit of outside space at first floor level. And
I was in two minds about it, I didn't like it. Did anybody else have a chance to?
I haven't looked at this one.
Sorry.
I mean, they're keeping the chimney and the chimney breast
Yeah.
that's sort of internal now, but it's going to be. I would leave it to Kirklees.
Should we defer to Kirklees?
So we're in the conservation area, isn't it? So
Yeah.
we're referred to the conservation officers
Yeah.
and I'll go with it, we'll
Defer to Kirklees then,
Oh, the next one, who calls their house Calgary?
Canadian person.
Isn't that where Christ was crucified on the cross at
That was
Calvary?
Calvary. Calvary was
Calgary's in
I looked this afternoon. Pressing thing to call your house. That was Calgary.
I believe Calgary is quite nice.
It's a cow town, Calvary.
Alright, number 9,
this was, I thought this was okay, or in the sense, I didn't have any objections to it, so. Anybody else, any comments on it? Support? Let's, 10, 2-story.
Well, I've got exactly the same point, and again, I couldn't tell from the plans, it's an additional bedroom, is there any additional parking? I've got no problem with what they want to do to the house, I mean, but I couldn't see from the plans whether there was a.
I thought the plans were not very clear, and they did this thing where they truncate the plans, so you can't really see the.
And the fact that you can't put the existing and the proposed next to each other anymore is really a difficulty for me. I liked being able to get them both on the screen.
I couldn't tell how.
I'll show you later how to get that.
Oh, right.
I'll show you some
Yeah.
tips with that.
I couldn't tell how big the extension was really. And the extension's the full width of the house, isn't it? I wasn't sure it was subservient, so my suggestion was to defer it to Kirby's officers.
We're not sure. But as I say, I couldn't tell if there was additional. I found.
You look in trouble, Steve.
Well, it's just, just looking at the plan, there's a hatched beam running across, or a hatched wall, which seems to have disappeared.
Yeah.
Which seems to imply that there's a wall that's been taken out.
Do we defer?
I think so.
I think.
Oh, it's actually a huge extension, isn't it?
It's huge.
It's doubling the floor space.
But I don't quite tell how big it is. Right, the next one is number 11 by Steve.
I will leave the room while we discuss this one.
Hide in the office,
So this is new windows for
Well, I support completely. I mean, we'll be doing the same with this building when it comes, that this is listed and we will want it double glazed in this day and age.
It's a listed building and it's in a conservation area, so.
Yeah, but I still think
You
in this day and age,
you want to support it.
I think we should fully support it. It's going to make the building more energy efficient.
Absolutely.
And it's great that they're in a position where they're ready to do this now, because it's going to be very expensive and it's a big job. I remember someone mentioned to me at the time, ages ago, about it when they wanted to do it. And it's great that the tech's doing well enough and they're in a position to do this.
Yeah.
It's a really good thing.
I agree.
Because where they've come from a few years ago, when it was an empty building and nothing going on there, that's what it is now. It's really good.
It's good, isn't it?
We should be full
It's
support.
not
It's a huge asset for the area, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so support.
It brings something different, doesn't it? We've got different kinds of assets and which is really good. Yeah, so
Okay.
support it. Right, on the next
It's
one.
all out.
You go downstairs or through there? You're okay.
So we decided we would support.
Okay, thank you.
Which is quite a simple decision really.
137 windows.
Yes.
Wow, I didn't realise it got that.
Wait till we start doing this building.
It's quite a big building, but 137 windows.
There's lots that are
They have,
several panes.
yeah, they have stone in between. What's it called? Is that a lintel?
No,
What's
that's a
that?
lintel.
That's a lintel. What's
It's a
that?
mullion window.
That's a mullion.
A mullion.
Can't they
There's
get
quite
rid
a lot of
can't they get rid of them and just put white? That'd be a lot easier, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's a aluminium bifold
I'm
door.
not saying that, I'm just saying that money, wouldn't it?
We can get rid of it. Come on, number 12.
Right, I thought this looked
Number 12.
fine. I had support. I couldn't see.
I had support as well. And anybody else?
Look at this one.
Green belts, but support. Okay. Next, number 13. Conservation area and green belt.
Now this one, yeah, interesting. It looks more like proposed Airbnb. There's no details of the vehicular access to it, although there's one shown on the plan.
I feel it, well, I know we can't take this into account, but this has the hallmarks of something that's going to be another planning application later on to
Yes.
do something else.
Which is why I said, I think it's,
Yeah.
But you can't turn it down,
No,
because
no,
you're
no.
guessing it's a
But-
problem.
I mean, one, I think there's no details of any vehicular access to it, although there is vehicular access shown on,
Right.
on one of the plan, on the wrong plan or the location plan, give me a second. On the location
Is this-
plan, there's a little red line leading into the site, but when you're up there,
Is this
there's
the
no
one?
existing route, because there's a stone wall.
Is this the
blocking-
one where they've got bedrooms like, grandpa's bedroom and grandma, was it, or the names of the people?
No, I don't
But it
think
wasn't
so.
that one, right?
No, this has got a little pool room underneath.
Little pool room, right.
Do you mean
Not a
pool
swimming
as in
pool.
snooker?
Not a swimming
Snooker
pool.
pool, yes.
I couldn't see any reason, because it's not, it's not a new building, it's
No.
very, very few external alterations of minimal. So I don't think there's any reason why we shouldn't, I think we should support it. So.
I would like
Yeah.
to see details of the access road,
Okay, do you want to support it?
subject to,
Subject to.
To highway considerations.
because there's no, I mean, it's a,
Satisfactory.
that's a more detailed plan of it, right? And there's no details of parking or anything.
It's just
And yet
supposed to
it's
be.
No, there was one for 2 dwellings on the road in Honley where they've shown as little as they can get away with as far as you
I
can.
mean, it's shown, it's, the details are,
I suppose they'd say that, I mean, it's just ancillary to the
yes,
existing
but it's
building,
actually,
so they don't, do they
but
need
there's
it
no
then?
other
It's
building
not-
within the
it's
red
not
line
access.
application, everything else is in the blue line. So it's ancillary to, I'm a little confused.
Do you want
Which
to just-
leads you to doubt
Right,
where it's going next.
yes. Would you prefer to defer to Kirk?
I would,
Yeah,
if
do
the
we-
Kirklees
okay,
officers
let's-
are doing their
okay,
job, they
let's
should be
defer.
asking questions.
Now, the next one I couldn't find, did anybody? The White Hart?
Oh, the old White Hart up in the
New Mill.
New Mill.
New Mill,
Yeah,
yeah.
just looking at the plans now actually. I
Oh,
looked at them the other day.
okay.
Yeah, it's been empty since COVID, I think, and it's a shame really because it's a lovely old building. It wasn't a good successful busy club at one point, and it's a shame because it could be a really good pub if it was run well, and it's not really been run very well over the years, unfortunately. And so anyway, the plan is changing it into 3 houses. So I heard before on the grapevine that they were refused planning permission to change it into a house because there was confidence on it that it should stay as a public house or something like that. But I don't know the case about that, and I don't know if that should really affect what we speak about this. My issue with this is, so they're converting the pub into 3 houses, and then they're building a bungalow in the car park as well. So that's 4 houses. So there's a 3-bedroom house, 2 2-bedroom houses, I think the bungalow probably 1 or 2 bedrooms. And there's parking for 7 cars. So
And one of the cars.
you can argue as well though, but the access is quite widened today. So you can park at the side down there as well. And I have done that before when I've been, sometimes I've been picking up people from there or something like that, or you can park there. But it's not really designed for that. And I don't think there is enough parking.
There's one parking space shown on the southern end of the terrace.
That bit there, yeah.
Yeah, which is right, pretty much on the junction.
Mm.
And that's one hell of a junction when it gets busy.
It'd be a good one to reverse in and out of.
And
It's a bit like the one on Danford Road.
And you would have to drive straight over the path to get through to that one. So that one's not great. Yeah, like I say, there isn't huge amounts that say are wrong with this, and it makes sense to do what they're planning to do with it.
Yeah, and a couple
Rather
of
than
them are
expensive.
small, which is
Yeah,
desirable.
it's a good idea for that. But I've got concerns about the highways, so the parking, that's what I'd say.
There's, the objectors have doubts about the actual ownership of the claimed access. That it's actually, part of it is owned for access to properties at the back of the park.
Well, the lawyers will sort that one out, won't they?
Is that for them 2 parking spaces there?
No,
That's all.
this isn't.
On the bottom one?
Well, yeah, down there. Whoops.
Down there? Oh.
No, there.
Do you
That's
just have
okay.
the eyesight of a vehicle, Tom, to look at?
Oh, that's one of the things I've got maybe. I don't like contact either.
Yeah, the northern end of the site, they've shown quite a wide access. Well,
It is quite wide, but
half of that goes up to a property called Newlands.
yeah, that one up there.
Yes.
And there's a few more up there as well.
Yeah, I think there is.
And actually, having had to rescue my youngest son from there in his misspent later teenage years.
In his misspent middle age.
No, he's misspending his middle age elsewhere.
I think that there is better ways that we maybe do this, or like there is quite large garden plots with them, and maybe doing that. I don't. Yeah,
Do you want
it's
to
not that bad.
Do you want to support it, but raise a query about parking and what about the ownership of the access or access?
Well, again, that's for
That's
Kirk
the
Lees.
lawyers, that's not ours.
Yeah.
No, that's for Kirk Lees to
So
sort.
just support
Um,
it, querying the parking.
I'm just going to look at some of the
No,
comments
I think
actually. I haven't looked at the comments.
It's
It's
more
quite a few
than a
comments.
query, it's some severe reservation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, it's onto it's
Support
accessing
with
onto a difficult
Access
junction.
to the
I
parking.
don't, yeah.
access, okay.
Yeah, there's stuff in the comments here about the access, misleading about the access roads. I mean, I wouldn't say approve it, to be honest. I'd rather say
Do you want to defer?
Defer to Kirk
Defer
Lees.
to
it is
Kirk
complicated.
Lees. Let's
Yeah.
defer it, let's defer it.
Like one of the complaints is saying they want to stay as a pub, and yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that either. But it's not. But that's not one reason to use it.
We can't
It's not a
refuse
material
it to
consideration,
bring it
because we
back.
want to put.
Well, it's
Okay.
bad. You know, used to have the Duke of Leeds and the White Hart, both of them are gone now. There's only the club.
Right, so we defer to Kate Leeds on that one, and 15 and 6,
I had, it looks fine, but it is in a conservation area, so I guess we defer to the
Do you want to
plans.
defer?
It looked alright.
It's a nice little extension.
Yes, it looked
Yeah.
very nice in fact.
So, I mean, I thought it was good, it was quite clever, because it's quite on an angle, isn't it?
Yes,
And
It's nice.
there's no existing car parking anyway, so
No.
if there's no existing car parking, we can't.
That's
So do you
right.
want to support it then, perhaps?
I would
Well, I'm
support
happy
it.
to
Yeah.
support it, but
Yeah.
we usually defer
Yeah.
with that.
Well, it's a conservation area,
Alright.
not, yeah, so support.
Yeah.
You know, I thought it was clever, you know, occasionally think, oh, this is good. One for you, Tom, again.
Yeah.
Preston Hall Lane.
Have a look at this one. It's round the back and at the side of where the church is. It's quite a big property and it's got quite a lot of space, and it's removal of it's a removal of conservatory, and this is another extension to replace it, so I think it's okay.
I thought so too. It seems to have had lots of extensions and we're
Frankly, the more conservatives that get pulled down, the better as far as I'm concerned.
Support, happy to
Yeah.
support that. We've not had any oranges for a while, but it seems to have gone out of favour.
You weren't here, I think it was before your time, I think it was when Rachel was still here, we had a whole rash of applications to pull down a conservatory and build. If you're in Honley, a garden room, and if you're in Homeforth, it was an orangery. And we kept laughing at this. We reckoned it was the same salesman. That 20 years ago, he went around selling all the conservatories, and now he was going around selling orangeries.
Well, that's just a conservative with a posh name, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, yes, exactly.
But that's why no birthday of orangeries and
Maybe
probably the garden
really
rooms.
less class. Anyway, this next one, 17, is not a conservatory.
Orangeries had more brick.
I mean, two was in two minds about, I know.
Which one are we looking at?
Sorry, 110
110
Underbank.
Underbank Old Road, we recently had one that
We've had a
We've had
number
one
of
quite
applications
recently.
on this.
Yes.
This one seems to have cropped up about every other
Every
planning
other
committee
planning,
meeting.
yeah. They're going to replace the arch on the,
Yeah,
the interesting
I-
arch on the low floor, which seems to be a bit of a shame. With some
I-
boring looking.
They talk about the industrial nature of blah, 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 but
Yeah.
actually they want to get rid of the only existing
Yeah.
piece, or the only bit of the old building that shadows.
Do you think that arch was original?
I would guess so.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I just, I mean, they're right, and it has minimal impact on the conservation area, really, because it's quite hard to see, isn't
I mean,
it?
I could make out an argument both for or against.
I think we should err on the side of saying yes,
Yeah.
we can.
Support. I'm going to say support?
It's very urban architecture,
Mm.
domestic architecture.
Yeah,
Mm.
support.
McLaren would like it.
Who would like it?
The chap who does grand designs, he likes
Oh,
it.
yeah. Kevin.
Kevin.
Two detached dwellings adjacent to
I thought
71.
it seemed okay. When there are objections about trees and things, which the officers will look at,
Yeah.
it looked okay.
This is
I
done.
found it quite hard to understand. I couldn't really work out where they were putting what. But,
This one's done the rounds, hasn't it? So when it came up in 2021, we objected because of trees and parking, but we can change our minds.
oh, did we? Oh, well, if we did, let's stick with where we were.
Have we had people come and speak to us about this?
I did, yeah, I think a couple again, because I said, they were saying, and he's lied before, when he said, and I said, we can't object on the ground. Have you got anything that's planning based? Because we're very sympathetic to you.
It rings a bell. It rings a bell. This one though, when people
Yeah.
come in.
And they live next door or opposite or something, and they'd seen him before where he told fibs about.
And there was part of it wasn't the other person's land or something like that. There was some issues with it, wasn't there?
Yeah.
It didn't look much different from.
It appeared to be exactly the same as from, and I thought,
I was thinking
obviously
about-
misreading
Should
it.
we,
Stick with our original
should we
comments.
should we stick with our objection?
I mean, the tree
Yeah.
officer says there seems to be conflict in the
Yes,
evidence
that was
provided.
interesting, wasn't it?
That no trees are going, no trees are going, and then, oh
And
yeah,
then
one is.
And I think it was about trees when trees were one of the things. If it was the same people who came, that they claimed he'd said he wasn't, and they were saying he's already taken some trees
Oh,
down.
yeah.
So we'll
maintain your original
we're
objection.
Yes, we're objecting, and on the same grounds, I think, which is to do with the trees, and also the highways
It's
concerns
also
about
pretty
the.
boring architecture actually as well,
Yes, we can't,
but
unfortunately.
you can't refuse on that front,
No.
which is a shame.
Yes, another cafe.
Another bar in
Another
Horley.
bar.
It's going to be like Soho.
I was going to say it's going to be like Home Firth.
It's it is already a cafe. It
It
was
is
the
already
Elim
a
Pentecostal
cafe,
Cafe. And I mean, I think this is an issue that goes beyond just this one, where people are having bars in residential areas. We do need, I mean, maybe there should be some new legislation about smoking areas, because if you live at the back of a pub and you've got your bedroom window open, do you want smoke coming up into it, and do you want the chat?
I think the government's attempting to do something.
Right.
about it.
I think we need, I mean, I don't think we can object at the moment, because they have to provide a smoking area, and we can't insist they close at 9:30 like somebody was saying, because they won't make money, you know. I mean, if they're going to be a bar, they're going to, and the licensing authorities will look at that, not us.
Yeah.
That's for the magistrates, isn't it?
I do have sympathy for people when if they change a building into a pub near where they are.
Yeah.
Because I don't have any sympathy for people who go and move next to a pub and then
And then
complain about
complain.
it. They're getting noisy because
People close their
the
car
pub-
doors,
the
but
pub
yes.
will go there first. So you kind of, you end up living next to a pub, you kind of have to
Yeah.
get with it. But like people who, when they do change things like this, and like I say, at the moment if it's a cafe, I'd imagine it would close like during the night.
It closes about 4 o'clock.
And you don't have people there, but Westgate's got quite a few other bars and other things going on at the moment as it is, so it's not like
On
it's
the, in the
quite.
same stretch, I mean, Concord Street, which is the street at the back, has got bars. It's at the end where there isn't a bar at the moment.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's up to the residents, isn't it? I mean, the government are bringing in legislation about smoking outside, aren't they? Trying to stop people smoking outside pubs and things like that. So it's.
But I think this is one for the magistrates when they apply for the licence. It's not for us. It's
Yeah.
not a planning issue.
So are we saying support?
Yeah, I think so.
We should support local businesses, and then it's up to the licensing to decide that you can't close by a certain time, or make sure that you're
Well,
quiet.
it's nice not to have another hairdresser.
I would rather. So we're saying support, right? And the next one is the Old Bank building, isn't it, on Victoria Square? There's some rather discreet looking signs.
Yes,
What does
no-
outside
nothing to, actually it's a quite pleasant sign.
Yeah, it's happy with that.
Non-illuminated as well, yeah.
Support? Yeah.
Good to see you. Short of Indian restaurants.
Catch Bar Farm. Green Belts. Oh, this has been around as well, hasn't it? So there's refusal in July 23. First floor extension above the garage, so they've now removed that.
Why was it refused then?
Inappropriate development in the green belt.
Oh.
They appealed, they went to appeal.
And they didn't get it.
Kirklees more. Yeah. So they have changed, it is changed, it's not submitting the same plans as sometimes. So they've got rid of the circular window, it seems. It does look, I thought the extension looked less dominant than it was before. Anybody else? Did anybody else?
Just looking at the plans, it's still quite a big extension, isn't it?
Why don't we defer its conservation area?
Green belt.
Green belt as well. Defer, it isn't conservation.
No, it's not conservation.
It says within a
Well,
conservation.
should we refuse it then if we're
Oh
not?
no, I'm looking at the wrong ones.
Is it inappropriate development in the green belt?
Well, it's less inappropriate than the last iteration, but
Is it still inappropriate?
it's less enough inappropriate.
So is it one of those ones where we've seen worse but we've seen better as well? It's not, still not really happy about it.
Should we defer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And the last one with already agreed project with a long list. Thank you, everybody. Moving on. Are we all okay? Are we happy to move on?
Yeah.
Item 108. So we just need to note that the decision notice is
Noted.
council, but I also wanted to suggest a conversation that Gemma and I had that I was just going to ask Gemma what's required to produce this list and what use do we actually make of it? Shall we scrap it?
We could have this discussion in item 111, which is the approach to reviewing planning applications. Which is where I could talk about it now.
I'll talk about it now.
Okay. So we, given that we are looking to review how we approach these things, I thought it would be quite useful for you to know how I put the lists together. Because I think probably you don't realise that maybe they come in one at a time in emails, both the decisions and the new notifications. They look the same until I open them, so I don't know whether it's an application or a decision notice. And
That's a bummer.
yeah. Well, it tells me on the attachment whether it's decision notice or notification, but until I've opened the email, I don't know which one. The decision notices come in the form of a letter, and will have, if it's a refusal, they will have, it'll be a sort of 10-page letter, more in some cases as to why they've refused it. And the acceptance ones, the granted ones, are generally a couple of pages unless they've got a load of conditions added to them, and then you, in which case you get sort of 15 pages worth. Luckily, the information I need is mostly on the first page. So when I'm putting decision lists together, I pick up the application number, and then what I need to do to put it into the decision list is kind of cut and paste all the information, and I then need to go and look up what we said about it. Mostly that is in my giant spreadsheet of applications. Sometimes if they're older ones, I need to go on the Kirklees website and look. So it's sort of, you know, a few minutes for each one. On notices, they come through on, I think it's just a single page, might be 2 pages in some cases, and everything sort of comes up, and I pick out and cut and paste into the big spreadsheet the application number, the proposed development location, link, and then separately I need to go and look up what's in on the big list. So
what topics have you got?
yeah, that's great. This is actually faster than I streamlined this from the way it used to be. So it's faster than it used to be. So this list, which is probably an average size list, I would say, there's 22 on here. Yeah, so we go from anything from 12 to, I think, sort of top mid-40s has been about the biggest one I've dealt with. So this one, I think, to put the list together and then do the comments, and then I upload everything to the web as well, and send it off to Kirklees. Mary and I kind of come together after I've written the comments up, so just so that she can check on. I reckon we've got about a day's work in all.
And that's on the ones that we are considering. That's the ones, not the ones we're noting that they've done before or anything like that. It's the live ones for each month.
Yeah, so they're the ones that come in. So they come in one at a time, any time between the last time the papers went out, right up until the morning of the day I sent the papers out.
I mean, my issue was about the list of planning officers' decisions. It seems to me if any parish councillor really wants to know what's happened to an application, they can jolly well look it up. Sorry.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you just said. When we decided to do the decision list before, when I first started in the council, we didn't have this decision list, but then we put something together so we could compare what we've said and what they've said, and you don't really need it. So like if people want that number about an application where they are, they can look it up themselves rather than have to be fed to them.
I mean, it would be valuable if we sat down at the end of the year and analysed it and said, well, they take with this, you know, we could do with having a meeting, but they seem always to, you know, But I mean, I think we could. Why don't we just take it off the agenda?
Yes, can somebody like to, or you've
This point.
really made a proposal?
I would propose that we remove this off and it'll save Gemma a bit of time.
I second that.
Right, all those in favour?
Thank you. I reckon you've saved me about an hour and a half a month on that. It's very valuable to me.
We're working on D.
There's no point in doing things that we don't know. We just, it's pointless. Okay, so move on to Peak District National Park Authority. Okay, so you can all read. So really, I mean, the only thing I want about further action really is that Councillors Sarah Whitelaw and I are going to the Peak Park Parishes Forum on Saturday, 12th of October. So we're not ignoring the Peak National Park altogether. Has anybody any other comments they want to? It's gone extremely quiet. I think this is about the third.
Yeah. This is the third time they've had nothing to say. Maybe they're waiting to see what the government's going to do or something.
Right, traffic calming, the SIDS.
The SID is up outside, hopefully
I drove past it last week when I went to the land charity meeting.
Sorry?
I drove past it last week when I went to the land charity meeting. I was there a bit early, so I thought,
Did you just go? Oh, you went
I went there and had a look. And I had a look.
Especially
The one thing I will say about it is, it's on the other side of the road,
Yeah.
so you don't notice it as much as when you're on the left side of the road. But you can't have it.
They put it in a very odd
But
place.
you can't
but
really
it
have
is
it.
there.
You can't really have it on the left hand side of the road because all the trees are all
Yes.
hanging there. So you can't have it there. So that's probably the only place where you can have it, which is not ideal. But yeah, it's there.
Yeah.
It's good.
So can we get the youngsters and the publicity?
Yes, I had meant to drop them a line last week, and last week was a little bit crazy.
When you get the names of the ones who came to us, and many others that have been, I'm late because I had a meeting with the MP, and he's got a visit to Homley High and is quite interested to meet them.
Right.
So if you could send them to his office.
I can definitely drop them a line. I will mention it in the item as well, but we are back into our period of pre-election sensitivity, so I'll be featuring members of any parties particularly. So I can get in touch with the school, get a story at the 17th of October, and I'll do what I can to pull a story together. Well, it might either, if we want councillors in the pictures and kind of.
Well, we need the youngsters. They're essential.
Yeah.
And Mary as chair of planning, ideally, and I'd like to be in it just because I've been involved. I can put my chain on, can't I?
You can. You go now, girls. I will do my best to see if I can get some sort of protocol and let people know when that is, but I might have to hold off on the story for a little.
Have we heard of it again now?
Yeah. Pre-elections.
Only in Home Valley South, though.
Only in Home Valley
We can do
South.
what we like in Homley.
Oh, I don't want the.
You're right. You're absolutely right. There are councillors who will complain.
Is that true though? Can we do that in Home Valley North? Or?
I don't know that we can really because it is still this council favourable stories
Okay.
out. So
We're on the side of caution,
Yeah.
which is what you
Yes.
need to do.
There are people, there are
Rather
people
not
who are looking
invite
for
the
mistakes.
criticism.
We can't
Let's
do.
not.
Do you know what? Am I the only one that's got election fatigue this year? It's been like a whole year of
You're on number 3
elections.
now.
We've got this one. Then you can hold up the American elections on the news everywhere.
Yeah, that one is.
Yes.
That's my soap opera.
What I think is really sad is all the Tories thinking they're front page news about their leader.
I'm
And
going to remind
everybody's
you, you're a public sector.
Washington,
Yeah.
gives a damn about who's leading the Tory when
Can
Trump
we,
is getting shot at.
And listen,
Yes, God damn there, poor.
all
No,
their
no,
gunfire, they
no,
don't do that.
Please, we
Sorry.
are in
Yes.
public session,
No.
we are being recorded, please,
No.
this is not relevant or helpful. Okay, so on the SIDS, I think we should be thinking about new locations, I think. And I've, it came through Lauren's surveying really, or representations, to have one in, at the end of Scotland Road as it goes into Scholes.
Yeah, I think
Because
that's a
people
good idea.
I think that would be a good
They come
location.
from the national speed
So
limit to
maybe
the 30
we
zone,
could-
don't they? Isn't there really
Oh,
popular?
But isn't the second one a Home Valley North one? Aren't we into?
No, the Home Valley South one's been there for quite a while. It's
Yeah,
quite a
but
location.
no, we're not talking about moving it now, but we need to feed ideas
Oh,
into
right.
the
Oh,
programme.
right,
So
I'm with you.
perhaps we could have that as an agenda.
So that's circulation for an existing SID.
It is, it's not a
Not
new
with
SID.
it.
So are we taking some actions away from that?
From where?
From what you just said?
And so Scolesmore Road for the next one.
Put it on the agenda for let us have new locations for cameras
Okay.
on the agenda for October meetings. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Right. Sorry, when you're ready.
I was going to also just chip in that I bumped into Councillor Crook over the weekend, and he was saying that all Kirklees councillors should be getting or should be able to get data from all of the cities in the area. So our councillors who are both Kirklees councillors and parish councillors should hopefully be able to get hold of that information. So I will drop them a line. See if I
Well,
can
then
get
Charles,
them.
we've got several.
So Councillor Grace should have.
There's Charles, there's
So
Donna,
we should be
there's
able to get
Jane.
that. Yes.
We've got 4
Yeah.
councils, haven't we?
Who's also one?
Well, that's it. Oh no, sorry, three. Yeah, three.
Three joint ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good news. Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
And I've been asked by finance and management to chase up the invoice.
Let's not say the obvious. Parking bollard, sorry, when Joe, when you, if you report on
Yeah,
parking bollards, but yeah.
So last time, we asked anyone that had a link to local primary schools to follow up and see if they could find a new post. So I haven't heard anything back from anybody yet.
I haven't asked at Newville
Was it
School yet.
truthful? I completely.
That's all right.
I haven't asked at Newville because I thought that Joe was going to ask at Hayes Edge.
I haven't heard anything from
So I can ask at Newville because I think, well, I was in, well, some of us and I can ask some people then.
If we get more than one school, it's not a problem because we could potentially send 3 each.
Yeah, I will, yeah, I'll try and progress it. No,
And where are they now? Are they here? Are they still at?
They are still at Rockholes. I did ask them to let me know a convenient date for them to pick them up, but they've not been back in touch. And it was John Ford that was going to go and pick them up, and he's currently away, I believe, anyway. So I will chase it.
So have they actually been used anywhere?
Yeah,
Rockholes.
Up from school. And they've been very useful.
We've
They like
had
it.
some good feedback.
Oh, good.
So, yeah.
Right.
Parking became rational on Greenfield Road.
Good Lord.
Yeah, it's quite amazing.
Excellent.
Because I used to make a point of going up sort of to see, and yeah, people began to obviously think, do I need to go and pick up darling child in the car when I live 5 minutes walk away? And there just seemed to be fewer
Sometimes
cars.
it's just reminding people that
Yeah.
if you lead a busy life and you kind of get in the car and you don't stop and think, you know what, it's almost as quick to walk. You just,
Or
I'm
they've been
going
doing
there, I
something.
do that in the
Yeah.
car. You
Or
know.
that they've been somewhere and they'll park and I'll wait 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Rather than I'll drive 2 minutes to the home and walk back.
Yeah.
We just occasionally need to remind you. We've all done it.
Right, thank you. So move on to the planning committee approach to reviewing planning applications, which was document F, which was the report from the working group of which Tom and I are members. So is Andy and Joe lads. So I won't bother with the first 2 bits on there because it was just a rationale for trying to reduce the amount of time that we spend on planning applications. This, looking at planning applications, is also part of a more wide-ranging look at the way that the parish council operates. I'm not quite sure quite where that's got to, really, but which Chris Green and Sarah are leading. So what the working group came up with is an interim solution, which we're suggesting or requesting that we adopt this immediately. But what this so we suggest we consider 3 options. So option A was just to carry on as normal, and option C was not to look at planning applications at all. But the working group came down in favour of option B, which would be to stop considering all planning applications routinely, but there's a list there of ones that we would look at, which you can all read. So in the green belt, conservation areas, large-scale developments, new builds, applications about which residents raise concerns and where PCs have raised concerns. Unfortunately, what this will do is it won't address the issue of the frequency of planning committee meetings. The only way of doing that was really not to look at planning applications at all in any route or in any way that's similar to this. But what it should do is free, well, normally, what it should do is free up time in meetings for us to discuss other issues which tend to get pushed towards the end of the meeting.
Can I ask, if we'd applied these to the list we've just done,
It wouldn't have made much difference because so many of them are in conservation areas.
I think it would have made some difference. Like there was one in New Mill,
Yeah.
there was a couple in New Mill where in my ward, which I wouldn't have put forward, like the change of use for the equine certificate of lawfulness, and then there was that other one, that small extensions with conservatory, stuff like that.
and we wouldn't have looked at the change of use in Homley for the cafe to the bar, or the one where they were building two houses.
Oh, actually, that's a good point actually. Should we include change of use on that list? Because change of use can be quite important sometimes. I don't know if I would also add that into the list.
Can I ask, just for a definition, what do you include in new builds? Because you put large scale developments, 5+ houses.
Well, those could be things a bit like the pub being
Converted.
converted.
Right.
Change of use.
Yeah, I would say to add that in as
But
well.
we wouldn't look at a single new house being built
No.
on an unremarkable site.
Unless one of us called it in, it's like up to us, like, so if
Well,
we,
actually,
we've got issues.
Actually, we would according to this.
Because it's a
Because
new
it's a
build.
new build.
See, I
I
wonder,
don't, to be truthful, I can't see any difference.
I mean, I just wonder,
You can't see
I
it.
mean-
Can I just tell?
Sorry.
Can I just finish what I was going to say is that it wouldn't have made much difference to our list this time. However, Andy did some work and looked back and applied that list to
Oh,
previous
right.
ones, and which is really useful. So he's saying in June the 12 applications would have fallen down to 5. July 21 would have fallen down to 8, and August 15 would have fallen down to 4.
Oh, right.
So it's quite, this month was quite exceptional, I think.
Now, why do we have to meet so frequently? Because we're no longer in a cycle with Kirklees. We used to meet when we met because it was just before Kirklees met, but they just do them as they come up.
We did a meeting, but there's generally a sort of 6-week minimum we find on it, so you've kind of got to beat that 6 weeks to be able to make sure you can comment on everything that you want to comment on.
So it's calculated with an average of 65% reduction. So it's the working group are very keen.
Can I ask another question? Would they even be circulated, or would they be eliminated by you and Mary?
No, I think what we don't want to make any more work for Gemma, because
If I reduce the list, it would take me longer
would
to
take
make the
longer.
list. I
So
know that
it
sounds
will
strange.
be up to the chair. It will be up to the chair to identify, which in a sense I kind of do already.
I think as well that it's up to us as councillors, so if we see something in our ward, right, which wouldn't fit into the normal criteria, it's not a detached house. Like a good example would be that one today, what then people came and talked to us about, right? Although that one's within the conservation area, so it would go up to
But we won't know that
like,
till we've looked at the plans.
well, that's what I mean. Like quite often, like there'll be stuff like where it's within your ward, where it's not a conservation area, it's not a new build, it's an extension, and like that. Like extensions normally, like we wouldn't think about with a new one, unless we look at it ourselves. If we're okay with it, we're not going to call it in. But it's up to us to call it in if we've got like anything to add to the list. So Mary might say at the start of the meeting, is there any applications that anybody wants to discuss in addition to the ones that like Mary's already mentioned? And then we'll go around the room. I might say, yeah, I want to discuss number 7. Steve might say, I want to discuss number 8. Or you might not have any.
My question is, the only way I'm going to know if it's any of these is to look at every single application, just like I do now.
We're still talking the ones in our ward.
It would be up
I know I only look at the ones in my ward, but I'm going to be doing exactly the same amount of work.
No, the idea is we wouldn't look at the ones I wouldn't look at the ones in our ward which don't fall into this pattern of the
But I have to open them to know that. I have to look at the plans to know whether it is.
No, I said earlier that I would send a list around that.
Oh, right, before the meeting.
Yes,
Right.
well before, well as
Yes,
It's
it's
a
a
bit
bit
like,
before
I
the
can do, I
meeting,
can
yeah.
do anyway though, like, if you see
Yeah.
us out like that, but if it's,
Yeah.
but if it's others which are within our wards, we should look at them ourselves and then call them in if we want them to discuss in addition. If it's so like, if it's like something like a side extension where normally you might think, oh, there's nothing much to this. If you look at the plans, it's massive and it borders onto the next door, and it's overlooking. But if you're looking at the plan on here, you would think that's not one for the list.
So you think it's appropriate that we do continue to look at the same number we look at now?
Well, I personally, I don't look at them all, I don't have time to do it. So I look at the ones which are in my ward.
That's what I mean.
So if you look at the ones within our wards, yeah, and then we call them in if there's anything which is out of the norm or we think should be looked at as well.
So our workload is the same,
But Gemma's isn't.
but Gemma's is reduced
But-
substantially.
But if
No,
you
it,
buy,
no, it won't.
No, that's
It won't.
inflation.
No,
It's
Gemma's
the same.
workload would be the same. I think we.
So what are we achieving?
it'll make the meetings better.
It will,
There'll be more
it
standing
will
meetings.
save time, it will save time in the meetings, but I don't think we should necessarily be looking at all of the ones in our wards anyway, unless we particularly want to, unless there've been, our attention's been drawn to them by residents. But I guess it's up to individual councils to do what they wish, but the whole point of this is to try and save some time in meetings, really. But I'd also like to stress that this is an interim solution, which I'd like to get going for the the October meeting, and then review it in January. I mean, I was probably I had a minority view really, which was that we didn't routinely look at any applications really, but only ones that actually came to it, because
I'm with you.
yeah, I think they're a bit of a sacred cow, aren't they really? I mean, the fact that other councillors don't seem to be engaged in
I think there is a problem. People say, well, people expect us to do it, and it's the parish council should, and it's the one thing people care about. But the councillors don't care. If there were any bloody councillors here, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But I want to get off this committee. I've been trying to get off this committee for years. There isn't a single Homley councillor who's interested enough to damn well be on it, except
That's
me.
disappointing, really. I think it is worthwhile, and you saw the engagement we had today with the public. If we're not looking at any planning applications, they're going to turn up and they're cheesed off, and we're not serving them. So I think by looking at applications, we are serving them.
I'm not sure we are serving them. I think they think we've got more power than we have.
I think
It's, we're very persuasive though. We can't say to them to object or tell them what to do, but I would like to think that they do look at our comments and they do take them on board. And some of the stuff that we do point out at times is from the local knowledge and they might miss things. So I'd like to think that they do take on board our comments.
I mean, sorry.
Now, when you look at
Yeah.
our recommendations versus Kirklees' decision, they pretty much coincide. Not always,
Yeah.
but I mean, if you look at the current
That's
list,
an
I think there's 3 that we disagree with Kirklees'
You might
decision.
also find that sometimes with those ones, if you then go in and look and they have put some conditions
Yes.
in.
There's substantial conditions.
Yes. And I think we spent all this time like doing the local plan, and if we're not going to do it now, or look at the applications, and that's a waste of time.
Well, no,
And
it wasn't.
another
No, it wasn't a waste of money because it was adopted by Kirklees. It is part of
Yeah.
Kirklees planning, that neighbourhood plan that we did. So
Okay, sorry,
it wasn't-
that might have worded that wrong, but a little bit. But as well, like when you think we've got a climate change committee, and one of the things we looked at today is that swimming pool. We looked at the climate statements and stuff like that. So by looking at these applications and doing these things, we are doing our bit, kind of for that as well. It might be a bit clutching at straws, maybe. We don't think so. That's fine.
I completely understand your points and I respect your position completely, and
Yeah.
you're right. But I think because we have no power and no influence, or practically no influence, it just seems to me that a meeting every 6 weeks, even if we get them shorter, is still a meeting every 6 weeks, which is we could be doing, other stuff.
I think, like I say, we should trial it.
But I think we should try
Can we,
it, I agree.
yeah, so the recommendation of the working group was an interesting working group. Is that we endorse, that we endorse the recommendation of the working group, so that we look at, so I think we're adding change of use to the ones that we.
I'd like to see that on there as well, that can be quite important sometimes.
Is there anything we can do to make some other councillors take part in this? I mean,
I think that is a moot point. I really,
I
this is,
think the fact that a number of
be careful
issues
what we
Yes.
say.
I think the membership of this committee is bigger now than it has been for a while, actually. It's just, it might be a bad day because people haven't been able to come for various reasons. But I think that, did any councillors who are not here give any comments about this, about changing how we do it?
Councillor Barnett did say that his preference was for option B.
Okay, that's good. Well, at least what Isaac could let us know, and that's good that he's giving feedback. But it'll just annoy me a bit if we're at our next meeting and some councillors are kicking off complaining that we've changed things and we're trying something different and they haven't given a comment about it. But they haven't given a comment about it, they can't complain. So it's always a trial anyway. So we'll see how it goes. And yeah.
So are we happy? Thanks, Tom. Are we happy to do that then?
It's sad that we can't use Jamie's work that.
I know.
It's the decision lists, putting that together, that's.
well, we've taken something off the agenda.
Right.
We've taken off their decisions.
And actually, if you're only maybe commenting on half of them,
You'll have fewer comments.
I will have to.
You'll be writing fewer emails.
Well, one of the things we will be looking for as well, Gemma, is to I can about 2 or 3 months ask for your feedback about it and see what you think. Has it been worthwhile?
Yeah.
Has it not been worthwhile? And yeah, we'll just see how it goes, aren't we?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and we'll only find things out by trying. That's one of those things, I think. Okay, so we'll go with that. We're accepting the recommendations of the work.
And thank you for the work.
I will say that this is quite a big thing because I've been on the planning committee for about 17 years now and it hasn't changed one iota. We've done the whole list during that time. So this is huge. This is big things, isn't it?
Maybe that's for Harris.
Yeah.
Well, we tried under Rachel and we came up with all sorts of suggestions and then each of them went, oh no, we can't stop doing that record, and then we ended up changing absolutely nothing.
Can we look at
this way?
Can we look at item 112, please, which is the highways campaigns, and I have views about these too. Has anybody anything to report? Any councillors or Gemma about?
I've not received anything
Received
through since the last meeting about
Anybody
any
else want to
updates.
raise anything?
No.
Okay, move on again. Right. Planning policy guidance and consultation. I know it's slightly out of sequence, but paper H, document H rather, the first item on the first paragraph or whatever, on there, initiative was taken by Andy Wilson really, because we talked a bit about the MPPF at the last meeting, and subsequently Gemma circulated papers, and because we were going to bump up against the deadline, we decided at the working group on the local plan that we would have a look at it there, and it was awkward. So well, Pat was there as well. So there was Andy, Pat and I, and it was difficult because there were 106. The preferred form of feedback is to use their questionnaire. There were 106 questions. It was just impossible.
And a lot of them were loaded. It was a lot of them. I mean, I'm a market researcher. A lot of them were fixed, so that you gave an answer. If you agree with this, you therefore agree with that kind of thing. Not all of them, to be fair. Not all of them.
So it was a very short consultation, and it's behind it, I think, is the government's requirement to try and get building some houses as much as anything else. So Andy had a look already, and we went through Andy's answers in this meeting. I wouldn't say it was a good process, but I think it was the only process that we could
Yeah,
actually
the only way we
manage
could do
given,
it, yeah.
given the time.
And some
Um,
sections were very interesting and quite relevant about, some were about getting cheaper homes, and then others were kind of nothing to do with us and very urban, and it was quite tiresome really. I mean, it's quite an impressive document in a very short space of time, to be truthful. And I don't think there was there were very few things in there that most people wouldn't agree with, regardless of party or anything, that, you know, we want to simplify this, we want that to be faster, we want more of these little houses, but some of it was a bit mother of an apple pie, wasn't it, really?
So we went through Andy's answers, and Andy is going to input the answers on behalf of this, so I hope that the rest of the committee are happy with that. It wasn't a good process, but I think it was the only one we could actually manage in the time that we've got. But obviously, anybody can make personal representations if you want to collect 106 questions, feel free as an individual. So as Pat says, some of them were interesting,
Yeah.
but a big piece of work. So are we happy with that? Let Andy get on and input the process. Okay, and item 2 there, the West Yorkshire Vision Zero.
No, before that we've got Create Streets.
No, we haven't, that's further.
Well, it's in Andy's document, it's in
No, it's in my
Octave's
document.
document.
I brought that forward, so it's further on.
Ah, okay.
Right, so West Yorkshire Vision Zero.
Well, it mentions quite a bit about speed limits, doesn't it? Things like that, which is quite good. So yeah, if we are serious about bringing 20 mile an hour limits into the areas like around schools and things like that, like we have mentioned before. Well, Kirklees were really against that, weren't they, when we spoke with them before? So this is kind of it's a bit of a contradiction, isn't it, in that sense, that part of it was. So it'd be interesting to see what comes of it.
It'd be interesting to see whether all this all this from Wicker and the rest of it. Only it says the 5 local authorities as well. Whether things might change from Kirklees' perspective.
Yeah,
We'll see. Yeah. Does anybody think we should, apart from applauding this, think we should do anything else or just continue?
Just
Just note it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's nothing, you can't fault it.
No.
It's the implementation that comes in the next few years that will judge it.
Thank you. Right. Okay. So we've noted, and no further action at this point. Right. Right. I got really bogged down in the next one, number 3, which was the guidance on repair, highway maintenance and repairs and maintenance of highways. It was jolly useful stuff. Does anybody wish to do anything other than note it at the moment? No?
That's it.
No, noted?
Yeah.
And Councillor Ramsby to report on progress on the design code.
I'm having, it was thrown back at me because the person that was going to be doing it gave it back because they hadn't got time. I'm having a meeting with Redback later this week. And they are going to do the work, so hopefully by next meeting it will all be sorted. And I'll be able to come along and give you, as Pat said, one choice.
Do you know that Redback are doing our rebrand and brand refresh? So that you don't go in there and go, sorry, what? That's really useful to know. So I am working with Matt at Redback as well.
So it's nice to use a local company.
Yeah.
Because another company was suggested to me, but that was down south. So I thought,
Heaven forfend we should have someone that's good gracious.
no, so yes,
Oh, that's
so Matt at single version in draft form to come back to this committee next time.
Great.
Thank you.
If it's
Thanks,
any different,
Steve.
I'll check.
Thanks for all your work on it as well.
Thank you. There's a lot of work happening, you know, collectively.
Across the whole council, actually, there's a lot of
There's a
work.
lot of work happening. Okay, right, item 115, I was all ready to report orally on the meeting that week was held with Councillor Moore Crook, but actually, looking at the people here and my list of people who were at that meeting, we were all there. I don't really need to, do I? I thought it was a really
A useful meeting, yes, I
And-
Most good, yeah.
yeah, and even though we couldn't actually get a timeline, which I think a lot of us might have wanted, that there wasn't to be had, was it really? So I don't see any point in
You've got a better idea about, the update on the town centre plan was really good and useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, the blueprints for the long term anyway, isn't it? It's in the future, so it's, yeah.
Are there any updates that you want to include in the minutes?
I think they said that it was a useful meeting. Well, just what Tom's just said, really. I think that the update on the road scheme was really useful. And there's some kind of concrete stuff like the car parking will be kind of out of commission for the entire meeting.
And there'll be a break for the trout to swim upstream.
Trout to swim upstream.
I must have missed that bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's got to be a break anywhere near the river in the spring for several weeks.
Is there a lot of fish up?
To the
yeah,
trout.
there's quite a few little fish go up. Well, they can't go past they can't swim up past the weir by the police station, but between that and further upstream, there's movement of little brown trout and
That's good.
And the
a
work
few
is
other named
planned
fish that I
to
forget.
stop around it, so there will be a break in the work that's anywhere near the river.
That's good.
And I don't think you need to make extensive notes really. The general, I think the general feeling appeared to be that the contractors are doing a good job in just keeping the traffic moving and keeping the businesses open.
I think they're doing a remarkably good job, given the size of the enterprise they're involved with. I can't believe it hasn't grown to a complete deadlock.
So I did get in touch with Matt Jukes about meeting the councillors, but I haven't heard back, so I can chase.
Actually, I'd like to add in the minutes that we thank the ward councils for coming and meeting with us actually, it's good.
Yeah.
And it's good to maintain good lines of communication. And we know that Jane's on council with us, but Laura's been very proactive at coming to meetings with us whenever we ask, and he always comes along and he gives really good detailed updates.
Yeah.
He doesn't talk crap like
No,
some other ward councils used to do before.
No, he's a friend of this council.
You want that minute?
Yeah, it's on the tape.
I will thank ward councillors for their engagement.
I won't put in any names, so it's alright.
And we were pleased to note that this was on I think it's part of the blueprint really, is the path, the improved path and sands, from the playground along to Crown Bottom Mill. I have extensive notes. I mean, I don't think there's much point in typing them up and
No. We were all there.
jolly good. We were all.
And things may well change. I mean, you can do it all, and then they'll find an old stream they didn't know was there, and it will all change. So I'm watching too much changing rooms, not changing rooms, grand design.
Grand design, gosh.
Okay, thank you. No, it was. I thought it was really good. And thanks for
What I
the-
liked was the fact that the relationship felt good.
Yes.
I think that in itself, even if there'd been very little information, it just felt good to be working with them. And,
It was proactive. It's like when I've had meetings before with ward councils where they come in and they think they're ready for a scrap with us because we're going to ask them
Yeah.
difficult questions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But no, they were forthright and they were good with their answers and obviously done their work. And it seems to be like a two-way partnership where we're working together now, where it hasn't always been like that with Kirklees.
Exactly.
So no, it does seem good.
Good words, Tom. Okay, right, so now on to the Kirklees local plan review and this document. So we've dealt with the first part of the document. The second part of the document is create streets, and it's clear from the report from the working group that we thought that it would not be sensible to continue to explore the relationship with Create Streets at this point, because we don't really think that it was going to add much to our consideration of the local plan review. I think it might be useful to maybe have that as a resolution. Okay.
Do you want it proposed?
Yes, you might. Yes.
I'd propose that we don't continue, I mean, work alongside them and support them where we can, but don't have active involvement with them.
Somebody second that? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. All in favour?
Yes.
I think I need, as a matter of courtesy, to contact Margaret Damon and report that this is what we've decided. Right. The other part of the local plan review is that we had decided at a previous working group meeting that the parish council ought to take a lead, being the body with the democratic mandate. So we had made that decision and that had been ratified by this committee. So we would started to make a list of organisations that we should invite to an initial meeting, which is incomplete. We know the list is incomplete, so we were seeking additions, but I don't know. Anybody anything off the top of their head?
How in depth are we going? Are we going to contact like local community associations and stuff like that? So each village has got pretty much got a community association, don't they? And then a Headclough does, and Hay Bench has got a group, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And a lot of these other,
I think they should all be invited.
community groups, yeah.
The equivalent of the Honley Community Civic Trust in each village.
Yeah, but what if they do exist? I can't think. I'm not aware of one in schools.
No, I think that we've probably got an umbrella one for home first, which encompasses.
Right. But
So what we've got on the list already were the Kirklees councillors for Home Valley North and Home Valley South, Home Valley Vision, which is Margaret's organisation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Home for the Civic Society, Home First Pride.
Home Pride, is it?
Home Pride, I
Home
think that
Pride,
wasn't right. Thank you.
Yeah, but they're kind of like, they're different though, aren't they? They just kind of go and out and fix things, don't they? And make things better.
Shall we cut?
I would cut down,
Okay, that's okay.
They're a bit different, aren't they, what they do?
Right, that's fair enough. Right. Honley Community Civic Trust, isn't it? Honley Business Association.
yeah, they're both quite involved.
River Home Connections.
have you got home birth businesses?
Yes, what's it
Business
called? We weren't sure of the name.
It's got some new group in there. I don't know.
I do.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
Is it,
They
Kerry from Fair Trade, or is that another group, or
No, I
am
think
just
she's-
getting my
I think
names
involved with
mixed?
Home Valley Vision, if you mean Kerry's, it's not Home Birth Forward anymore, is it? What's it?
No, it's not.
No, Home Birth
It's
Forward's
always
different.
different. I can't remember. We'll have it. They need to be on this, but nobody.
I can ask James at Reed what it's called,
What it's
because
called, because we
because
couldn't-
Reed is like.
None of us could think of the name.
It'll be on here.
that's something else,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's got a different, slightly more catchy name, which I can't remember, but
Whatever
anyway.
the new version of
Whatever
the
the new
Home First
version of the
Business
Home First Business
Group is the
Yeah.
one you want.
Yeah.
Maybe that's enough to start with.
Yeah.
You don't want it too
We
loud.
don't want too many.
No.
And we were making the point that there's so much uncertainty really because of what the government's doing, the NPPF and the timetables. Kirklees local plan might change. It's supposed to be all done and dusted by March 2027, but we just don't know really. But it might be quite helpful to organise an initial meeting, and obviously after we've got the big community get together.
A lot of those groups you've just
Will be
listed
there.
will be there.
Yeah.
What is it you're inviting them to do? I'm not quite sure I quite caught that.
We're inviting them to be part of a partnership led by the Parish Council to looking at the review of the Kirklees local plan. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. And we thought perhaps we might have something, because we're having I assume the Parish Council has a stall at the big community event. And we thought perhaps we might have something on there about it.
I'll talk to you about that after. Are we too late to register?
Have you seen that the Home First Review newspaper stuff coming back?
Yes.
I mean, that's something like, would it be, do we need to put something in there about this, or would it be something?
It might be, but as part of our discussions, we had a case meeting
Yeah.
last week, and we have agreed to put a half page in the first 3 issues, which is 6 months worth.
Okay.
The first one I need to write by Monday, and it will be about the event in November.
Is this every 2 months it's coming out?
It's
isn't
every
it?
2 months to begin with, and we've got a half page subscription and a friendly editorial connection as well, so we might be able to get other stories in.
Right, that's good. Yeah, will that be an additional to the tutor, or we're not doing that anymore?
I think it will run side by side initially,
But, yeah.
but then it will be reviewed.
See how it goes.
Not sure.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, I think we used Tito more in hope than judgment.
It's more of a look of adverts.
As Rachel said, in the 3 seconds people take, lift it off the doormat and put it in the bin, maybe they'll just catch a glimpse of our.
I make sure to look at it, look right, isn't it?
So it will be reviewed over time. We do have an agreement with Tito for another, I think we've still got about 9 months left on what we've agreed with them.
I know some people really, because I had a couple of people said, "Oh, you're chair of the thing," and I said, "Why is everybody telling me that?" I've been here since May, and they said, "Oh, we saw you in the."
Yeah, I read that as well, so you might surprise how many people look at it. And some of them, like Laura's friends, who are quite, people I think will look at it as well. So.
Before we move on off to, because we've got 5 minutes, before we move off this, can just ask that this committee endorses the decisions made by the working group, please. Are you happy with those?
Yeah.
That we're authorised to carry on with what we're doing. We did wonder whether other parish councils might be interested in joining the working group.
Not just planning.
Not just planning,
Really quite full council.
Yeah.
I mean, the local planning does encompass more than
It
just
will more than
planning.
just planning, yes.
You know,
Yeah.
it
Yes.
encompasses-
Yes, as Charles said, we've got mission creep.
Okay, right, committee budget.
Can we note it?
Noted?
Yeah.
Noted?
Just to say, next time, probably,
Oh, budgeting.
It'll be budget.
we'll be talking budget.
And
certainly in November.
we've resolved in whichever meeting it was in, that they won't get, that stuff won't be carried over.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
It's just changing the way that we do it,
It's
isn't
that
it?
if what you haven't spent of your budget goes into general reserves, unless it's a true earmark, a genuine earmark of a thing that's begun, but you can't just carry it over. So each year you reapply if you would like the same amount, but you've got to put in, you know, a new budget. You can't just earmark stuff and say, we haven't done that yet, but we will be doing.
That's fair enough.
There will be stuff that rolls over that is.
It's got to be,
overrun.
legitimate earmarks
Yeah.
can be rolled over.
I think the 4505 neighbourhood plan probably needs renaming, I think, but there could be some small expenditure involved in now reviewing the local
I
plan.
mean, it could,
Just-
I hate to say this, it could do with being completely rewritten.
Yes, I've been.
A, to be expanded to do more of the valley, and
Yeah.
B, to be more readable and more usable.
The local plan,
Yeah.
doing it again.
The neighbourhood plan.
Different plan.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It's, how many years did it take to get
Well,
that
I,
done?
I wanted to make it shorter and simpler to
Yeah.
I can't remember
Too
what the
late.
recommendation on them was. It was adopted in 2021 and you're probably looking at 5 years, so you are.
But
You
well,
might be doing it
I've
again.
done some training on this recently.
Oh, have you?
There is no requirement to, but it does need looking at again, but
Yeah.
there's not a mandatory requirement to
Right.
look at again, but it is too long and we need to pull out the policy and we need to make it more workable.
And it's got to
usable
cover more of the
document.
valley,
And
it's
got to
2
cover
and
more.
30.
So it doesn't, but then there's this kind of nested thing, isn't it? Because there's the MPP after the local plan and then
Yes.
nestled inside that is the
Yes.
neighbourhood plan,
Yeah.
so. I think maybe reviewing the neighbourhood plan might be on the.
But
back
making
burner,
it simpler and a document you can
Yeah.
actually use rather than a document that sits there collecting dust.
And I have to confess that I was going to look at the parish council actions and update it, and I've asked that it goes on the November meeting of November.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I've got everything for that.
Yeah, thank you. So, anything else on the budget? Were we waiting for the bill, aren't we, for the seats?
So
which
when
are
the
not
bill,
nice
so
to
chasing
clear
that,
out,
I think I might try and chase it with councillors and see if they can have some success in finding it, because I'm sure they'll get the money in.
One would think so. Okay, last item, publishing the work for Hanley Parish Council.
Well,
I think
big.
we just discussed most of it, so the sixth story will be
Big as
going
soon
out
as
as
possible.
soon as I can get it mobile and sorted.
When we're out of purdah.
When pre-election sensitivity, we don't say that anymore. The other thing, so the other thing I was going to mention was the home value review has been resurrected and we're going to be a regular
Oh, thank you, we've just about done it. Thanks everybody.
Do you know when-
I just hope the rest of the committee don't object to any of the decisions we've made, but as Tom said,
Tough.
You're
I
not
was
here.
going to say, they have the choice of being here.
It's only 3 months anyway, so it's no good.